All right, we are live. Anna Wood says, good afternoon, Nathan. Hello, Anna. How are you? So, real quick, it's raining outside, so we may have an issue with the internet, but just from your perspective, guys, is it working? Can you hear me? How's everything going? Anna says, finally online, able to watch for once. That's awesome. We're glad to have you. Andy Epoxy Design says, hey. DK says, hi, Nate. Andy Epoxy Designs, is this your first time here? If it is, I'm glad you're here. What's up, DK? So I wanted to start out this evening talking about the Cheapskate Challenge. Have you guys seen the video of the Cheapskate Challenge? Mark says, what's up, Nathan from Indiana? What's up, Mark? JDM Woodworking Card Detailing, how's it going? What is up? Chad says, hey, Nathan, how are you? Doing good. Tom Smith says, Nathan. What's up, Tom? Bobo, morning, Nate. Hi again from Australia. What's up, Bobo? What is up? Okay, so you guys have seen the Cheapskate Challenge. How many of you guys are going to enter the challenge? Anna says, which is the idea for the challenge? Hey, Anna, good question. If you check out my last video that I posted, it'll tell you more about it. But basically, it's you have to use a construction grade 2x4 and epoxy in whatever project you want. You have to use them together and come up with a project. You enter the project by sending it to me, either on my website through email, through my Instagram handle at Goodview Woodworks, or or on Facebook at Goodview Woodworks. So yeah, you can send them there if you want to do that. John says crystal clear in UK. Okay, awesome, guys. Well, I'm glad that the video is clear. That's good. So back to the Cheapskate Challenge. I'm excited about this one. I have a few ideas for myself. And we have some, I just want to give a shout out really quick to Blue Water Wood Company. They sent me this pretty cool little charcuterie board or cutting board. I just want to say thank you. If you guys want to check out, here's this little logo on the side, Blue Water Wood Company. The cool thing about this piece too is, I don't know if you can see the stripe, but it's a stripe right here. He put some glow in the dark pigment in there. It turned out pretty cool. Chris says, hey, Nate here from Canada. Been watching you for about a year now. Totally got me hooked on epoxy projects. That's awesome, Chris. What have you made recently? DK says, I've been trying to come up with something. Yeah, it is. Sometimes it's difficult to figure out what you can use, but I'm not going to give mine away, but we may have something in the form of bent lamination. Excuse me, in the form of bent lamination. Sorry, I was yawning. So if you guys have seen bent lamination before, you know, it's when you slice wood thin and then you can bend it, stuff like that. So we're going to do something like that for the Cheapskate Challenge. I won't give it away, but it's going to be cool. So also a few things coming up this week. We're actually getting to the dining room table form video. So we're going to start building the form for that table. It's 9 foot by 4 foot, and it's going to take 18 gallons of epoxy to fill. So a lot of epoxy. I have one little project to finish up, and then we'll get on to the epoxy stuff. And it's a little project. Somebody had me make a bench for them, like a little farmhouse style bench. And once I get that knocked out, we're going to start some videos on that. Uh-oh, looks like power just went out. Okay, it's back on. Sorry about that. I guess it didn't go out. My wife just turned the lights out. Thought the power went out. But it's a little farmhouse style bench, and we're going to get that ready and out. That way I can start working on some epoxy projects. We also have a coffee table coming up soon. If you guys remember that burl from last week, I don't know if I showed you, but if you haven't seen it yet, here it is right here. It's a nice piece of burl. Pretty sweet. We're going to be using that. We're going to be making a coffee table with that. And I ordered some more burl from that company. If you guys check them out on Instagram, Worldwide Burl. They're pretty sweet. They do like an auction every day. So every 24 hours they have an auction. You can get some burl for pretty inexpensive. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's pretty cheap for burl. So we're going to use that to make a coffee table. I ordered some more because I felt like that just wasn't enough for a coffee table. I wanted a little bit more wood in there, but we're going to do, I think a lot of people chimed in and they liked the clear idea. We had some like wall art comments and clocks and stuff like that. But I think I'm going to go with like a mid-century modern style coffee table, clear epoxy with the burl, and then do gold legs. So do some metal legs, maybe some thin metal legs that'll be gold. So it'll be great. Let me get to some of these comments. Anna says, I want to make a coffee table with fake cherry blossoms floating in the resin. Anna, that'd be really cool. That'd be sweet. She says, can you do a tutorial on something like that? Yeah, I can. I can do a tutorial on some stuff floating in there. I may not do cherry blossoms specifically, but we could totally work on something like that for sure. Richard Collins says, hey, Nathan from the Basement Workshop. What's up, Richard? Bill S says, hey, buddy, good to see you. How's it going, Bill? Anna says, I spilled whiskey on my keyboard. Sorry. That's what happens when you drink and type, I guess. Tom Smith says, that table using 18 gallons, I would go broke. Yeah, Tom, it was pretty expensive. Let's see how much it was. Pretty crazy. See, that's why it doesn't come out of my pocket. You know, it's a commission table, so the customer paid for it. But let's see how much, 18 gallons. So we're talking, you know, $1,350 in epoxy. So that's a lot. Thomas later says, thanks for all the help. Final pour tomorrow. No problem. Yeah. So guys, feel free to, if you have any questions or you need help on a project, feel free to just shoot me an email. I'll do my best to answer it. Direct message me on Instagram or Facebook. Thomas Smith says, need CPR. Is that because of the price of the epoxy? Dude, this thing is going to be so cool, though. I'm really excited for the dining table. So what we're going to do with the dining table is she wants kind of like a Caribbean style color. So like a blue but slightly green, translucent. So it's going to have to be done in 2 pours. The bottom, she doesn't want to be able to see through the bottom. So we'll have to do a pour where you can't see through it, maybe like an inch or so. And then we'll have to do a pour that is tinted with like a bluish green tint. So we can do blue on the bottom, and that the crazy thing is, though, she wants to see the detail on the edge of the wood. So we may, like 1 inch in all the way along the live edge, route her down a little bit to give like a different step up in the epoxy, so you can like see the different levels. I think it'll be pretty cool. Anna Wood says, "Oh, geez, good to know. We'll need to wait a long time to make a dining table for us." Now, that's not every dining table. Not all dining tables need that much. This stuff has huge voids and a lot of spaces in it, so that's why it's going to take 18 gallons. But a lot of dining tables, you could probably get away with more like 6 gallons, 6 to 10, something like that. Chris says, "Nothing yet, but got some slabs almost a year ago and got tools." It says tools and eco post ready to start a project. Now need a shop to build. LOL. Yeah, for sure. Mark says, "Did you finish the floor behind you?" Hey, Mark, great question. Look at that. Nope. We got some stick-on tiles there, and I have not done the floor epoxy yet. Things kind of got in the way, but we finished painting the room, on the walls and stuff like that. We're working on the trim at the moment. Oh, Chris, sorry, it says Epoxy. Yeah, Epoxy is a great brand. Good choice. LWB72 says, "Great videos. Keep up the good work, brother." No problem. Thanks. Really appreciate the encouragement. Renee Porter says, "Hey from Virginia Beach." Hey, Mom. Chris says, "Just bought the copper color after watching one of your videos. Looks super sexy." Hey, thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. DK says, I want to pour a river with empty 45 caliber brass shells in it. Should I fill the shells with resin first to help with air bubbles?" Well, I would say that you don't have to. If you use a slow curing epoxy, the bubbles will evaporate. But if you don't want them all to be kind of flat, you kind of want them stacked up, I would do multiple pours to kind of get them in different layers. But yeah, you may want to pour the epoxy in them, or at least pour it all together and then stir them up to get the air out of them. Resonant LTD says, "Hello." Hey, Resonant LTD. Is this your first time here? I don't think I've seen you before, so welcome if it's your first time here. Jay Thomas says, "How common is UV curing epoxy? I would think they would be good for large pours." Jay Thomas, great question. I have seen it. I have never used it. So I would be a beginner in that area. I've never seen the UV. I've never used the UV curing epoxy. But I don't even know how thick you can pour it. Most of the time I've ever seen the UV epoxy, it was poured very thin. John says, "How much did the wood cost for the dining table?" That would be $1,500, John. Great question. Bill S says, "Ever heard of a wood called Lantis? Called Tree of Heaven? Ever worked with it?" No, I have never heard of it. I've heard of a mantis, but that's a little bug. It's not wood. Where do you get it, Bill? Like, where does it grow? DK says, "I'm using thick set total boat." Hey, DK, with the thick set, I don't know how thick you can pour it, but I will say, if you're pouring a large mass, like bigger than a coffee table, I would recommend not pouring it super thick, but do like 2 pours, an inch at a time, something like that. Because I did notice with the total boat, the heat would generate. So you can either do 2 separate pours or put fans on it. I would definitely do that. Tom Smith says, when I'm mixing my epoxy, sometimes it looks ivory. What am I doing wrong?" Tom, a couple questions for you though. Are you mixing it with a drill? And how much are you mixing at a time? Usually what happens is if it's ivory, it's probably because a lot of air bubbles have been incorporated into it. DK says, "Mix them up, then pour them." Yes, more than 1 pour. Okay. Bill S says, "No idea where it grows. Just ended up with a slab of it. Thought I would ask." Hey, that's pretty cool. Bill, are you part of the Facebook group or Instagram or anything? I'd like to see a picture of it. Scott Price says hello. What's up, Scott? Tom Smith says yes, 18 to 24 ounces. Okay, so that that is, so if you're using a drill mixer and it's 18 to 24 ounces, the problem is you're incorporating a lot of air. Slow the drill down and make sure you have it all the way at the bottom of the cup. Okay, and when you mix it, go around the cup. Well, when you pull it up towards the surface, slow the drill down. When it goes back to the bottom, you can speed it back up. The problem is, the reason why it looks ivory, there's a lot of air in it. Chris says, holy crap, 1,500. I have a good local supplier that mills his own, but the cheaper wood is because I have to let it dry. Saves on cost, but need to start inventory. Yeah, for sure. I will say that, but the stuff that I bought has been kiln dried, so that's part of the reason why the cost is so high. Bill S says, yes, I am. I'll send you a pic. Awesome, Bill. Appreciate it. Chad says, you can use a fan/fans to help keep temp down for deeper pours. Yes, that is true. Tom Smith says, thank you very much. Jamie McCord says, have you worked with Hdpe for form molds? Any issues found? Yes, and Hdpe is great. As a matter of fact, I am in the process of building my pour table out of Hdpe. It's great. The thing is, you don't want to get the textured stuff, though. Most of it is slick, but they do have some textured sheets. Make sure you get the ones that are not textured. Great question, Jamie. Chris says, love Matt's Cremona. I think I have seen some of his stuff before. Back to that Hdpe question. So if you guys have watched Black Forest Wood Company, they have been doing this for a really long time. And if you ever have a chance to watch their stuff, they have some great stuff as well. Now, what they do for a pour table, they have a sheet of aluminum underneath the Hdpe. And that is because they can have a fan or like a portable AC unit underneath it. And it cools the aluminum down, and the plastic Hdpe is on top. So that way they can get the temperature of the epoxy down for thicker pours. Like I think one time they poured like 3 or 4 inches thick, something like that. 3 or 4 inches thick at one time. So that's crazy. Now they have some great tips and tricks and things like that. I do notice that they don't always want to share everything, but they do really good. They do really good work. I like watching them as well. Chris says he has his own large Nomads mill for his own wood inventory. Yeah, you know, that would be cool to have my own slabbing machine and stuff like that, but I got to get a bigger, I got to build a bigger shop for one for that. Maybe in the future we'll do something like that. He says this is homemade. That's pretty cool. Jamie says, can I use table saw to cut the Hdpe? Thanks for the cooling tip. Yes. Yep. Table saw is great for cutting the Hdpe, so totally can. And Anna says, can you reuse the forms you make? If you want to keep making things in the same size, yes, you can. I always keep the forms handy, like sides and things, and I reuse them over and over. I would say, though, you need to make sure that your tape and everything is good before pouring. So you may, even though you're reusing the form, you may have to retape a few spots here and there just to make sure that your tape is flat. You don't want the epoxy to go under the tape. Scott Price says, what kind of router bit do you use to flatten, and can you use a cordless? I would say no, you can't use a cordless router because it doesn't produce enough power for it, and it doesn't. It's not enough horsepower. The bits that I use are flat. They're called flattening bits, but essentially they're 1.5 inches wide, and they have 3 to 4 carbide cutters on the bottom, and that's made for flattening. If you go on Amazon and check it out, they have bits on there. but I would recommend using like at least a 1.5 horsepower router and get a 1/2 inch shank for your routers, and buy the bits that have a 1/2 inch shank. Excuse me, buy a 1/2 inch collet for your router and get the bit with a 1/2 inch shank. Nick Sheldon says Alabama's in the house. Thanks, Nick. So if you guys check out Nick that just commented right there, he's the one that made this for us for Goodview Woodworks, and we appreciate it, Nick. John Hanser says, what's your thought on 2-cup mixing? I've been mixing resin in 1 cup, then transfer to a 2nd cup to continue mixing to ensure there's no resin without hardener in the cup. John, that's a good precaution. I have done that once or twice, but I found that it uses up a lot of cups. And as long as I just mix for a little longer and continue to scrape the sides and the bottom, I haven't ever, when I started making sure to scrape the sides and the bottom, I don't get soft spots in my epoxy anymore. So you can totally do it. It helps eliminate, soft spots or the chances of messing up your project. I just don't do that because for me, with my process, I don't need to use more than 1 cup generally. Great question though. Richard says, where do you purchase Hdpe? Now, some places like Home Depot or Lowe's, sometimes they carry it, depending on what store you have. They'll carry it in stock. Mine doesn't. So you can order it online. It's just the shipping cost kind of sucks because it's kind of expensive. Chris says, so no videos I've seen ever really show how often after the pour periodically for a couple of days do you have to pop bubbles, or after pour is the last time pop? Okay, Chris, great question. When I'm using the Incredible Solutions pourable plastic, by Incredible Solutions, I only pop the bubbles right after I pour. I'll go back 3 times. I'll wait 5 or 10 minutes and do it 3 times within 30 minutes. And that's it. I just let it sit and do its thing. The only thing that I do is I come back about 12 hours later and I'll make the swirls. If I want swirls, that's when I'll do it. So great question. Bill says, so I just looked up on the net. Lantis comes from central China and was introduced in the US in 1784. That's pretty cool. What does it look like? Nathan McCarr says, hola. What's up, Nathan? How's it going? Nancy says, hi from Oregon. Nancy S. What's up, Nancy? And Chris says, thanks. No problem, Chris. Yeah, so guys, if that's a great question that Chris brought up. So I always torch the bubbles. I do it 3 times, and I wait 5 to 10 minutes in between the 3 times. And then after the 3rd time, you're pretty much good to go. So any bubbles that form and show up after that usually rise all the way to the surface and you're able to plane them down, no issues. So great question. So I want to ask you guys, so everybody that's on here right now, do me a favor, give me their personal opinion. What do you guys want to see from my channel? Do you want to see river tables? Like, do you want to see more river tables, more coffee tables, dining tables? Or would you like to see more like charcuterie boards, cutting boards, things of that nature? I do notice on my channel that a lot of you guys like the epoxy, but only when it's mixed with wood. So if it's like in a complete epoxy project, it doesn't seem to, you guys don't really hit on it there, but that's okay. And then I just want to know what you guys want so I can start bringing some more content that you actually want to see. So do me a favor and just leave a comment on what you guys want to see. Chris says, I guess that's why I've never seen anybody's video. Yeah, it's because it takes a little while. Nathan says, anything, I just enjoy watching your videos. Hey, Nathan, I appreciate that. Jamie says, small boards with multicoloring. Okay. Chad says, all of the above. Joey says, all of them. Resin Ltd says, colored epoxy. Okay. Larry says, hi from San Diego. Tom says, do you ever get like a jelly spot when using a propane torch? I have. That's what happens when you burn it. So you just got to be quick. Anna says, I like the variety. I would love to see inlays and new creative ways to mix epoxy and resin. Okay, Anna, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. William says, all of them with plenty instructional details. Okay, see, I like that one too, because if you guys have watched my videos, I try to put as much detail in there as possible. So if I miss anything, feel free to comment, ask a question, or say, hey, you forgot to do this. I always enjoy constructive criticism. Heath says, hi from Ohio, thinking of making river cornhole boards. What finish would you suggest so it is not too slippery? Okay, two things. One, cornhole boards, you usually use them outside, so you got to be careful with the epoxy yellowing on you. So I would say there are floor additives for epoxy floors called anti-skid. You could probably use some of that in your flood coat, so it'll still be shiny and clear and stuff, but it will be not as slippery. You can check that stuff out. That's what I would do. Jamie says second Anna too. Appreciate that. Chris says more inlays, yes. And yes to multiple colors. Okay, I will do that. Later says, I would like the different types of finishing. Okay, later, great. So that is coming up. We are going to do multiple types of finishes, because I know that's an important one too. DK says, love woodworking. Okay, definitely going to be more woodworking. Nathan says, you should build a beer pong table. Those are really big right now. Nathan, when I was younger, I did build a beer pong table, and you know what? It was so sweet too. You could press the ball down on the right-hand side. It would go down through water and pop up on the other side all rinsed off. And then the cups, when you sat the cup down, the table would light up around the cup too. So it was actually pretty sweet. Bill says, I like to learn regardless, but I prefer anything wood and epoxy. Okay, thanks, Bill. Linda says, hey from Linda and Ed in Florida, we agree with more multicolor pours. Okay. I'm glad that you guys are suggesting that. So when you guys say multicolor pours, do you mean more than one color in a single pour, or just more of the colored, so like a river table or charcuterie board or whatever, with a different color each time? Let me know. Nathan says, do not use epoxy on cornhole. Regrettable mistake. No, Nathan, I think he means on the board. Tom says a table where the epoxy goes up the side, then top and other side. So you mean like a waterfall? Larry says, I'm going to enter. I just did my first epoxy pour. Hey, Larry, I appreciate that. Scott Price says, mix epoxy with different materials like the carbon board you made. We definitely have some more of that stuff coming up too. Not carbon, but like other things in the epoxy. John says, I like to see some videos on other details like roundover, routing, and fixing legs. But all your videos are pretty cool anyway. John, thanks for that too. We will thank you for all this. I'm going to be taking all this stuff down. I'm going to go through back in the comments and read them and write them down. So I really appreciate all these suggestions, because I really want to get content out for you guys. DK says beer pong table is a must. Nathan's like, see, told you. Nancy says, love the tables, but all I can afford. Wait, it says, love the tables, but all can afford the large pieces of wood. Maybe reclaim wood, little creative with instructions, yet always use epoxy. Clocks, inlays to large clocks to lamps from logs, maybe. Okay, Nancy, great suggestion. I did do one reclaim table recently. If you saw in my other videos, I did the desk that I'm working on right now with some reclaimed lumber and epoxy. It had 3 white diamonds going up the middle. I don't know if you saw it. Jamie says more than one color in the same pour. Okay. All right. Yeah, that'll be cool. Chris says, do you have a new shop? Noticed you're in a larger space lately in your vid. or are you collabing with someone? No, so that's my full-time job. I work for a railroad contractor, and the owner is letting me use some space there because some of these big things I can't do in my tiny little shop. So nope, not my new place. Don't have a new shop. I'm just borrowing some space from my boss because he's awesome. He says, I knew someone was going to say that. I should have called it a beanbag toss. Oh, Nathan, appreciate that. Tom says, yes, waterfall. Linda says, multicolor pour mixing them together. Okay. All right. I'm definitely going to do that then. I've been wanting to do that too. Chris says, are you a carpenter? I would not necessarily consider myself a carpenter. I have done a lot of work on my home, rebuilt walls and things like that, done trim and stuff like that. But no, I'm just a DIYer, more of a furniture table builder than a carpenter. Great question. Nathan says, I used epoxy on a cornhole table as a slick finish to it. Little did I know the boards would no longer be usable because the bags just yeet right off. Yeet right off. Oh, that's funny. Nathan, you're hilarious. Schmitty Trucker says, try something with LED lights in the resin. I know. You know what? Oh, man, the fact that you said that. I need to finish my daughter's night light because it's going to have LEDs in there, and I'm close to being done, but it got put on the back burner because of some paid projects. So we'll get it back. Richard says, anything woodworking along with the epoxy projects. Okay, guys, thanks so much, man. Thank you for those comments. I really appreciate it. We'll definitely get something with some mixed colors in it. Jamie says a light box, maybe for the LED and multicolor resin screen. That's cool. John says, does anyone else have a mess when routing epoxy edges? Did some the other day on my drive, and it was like snow in June. Don't think my neighbor was too pleased. Routed resin sticks to everything. I know too. It's crazy. It's because it's like static. It's like, and so the static causes it to cling, but then it's so thin that it'll stick to it too. Yeah, I try to keep it indoors. That way I can vacuum it up. Chad says, sorry, that was meant to be a link so you can see what the UVO pigments are. LOL. Chad, I didn't see that, so it's all good. Richard says, are you coming out with your own epoxy product? That is a yes, I think so. I'm trying really hard. So, I thought I would have it sooner, but it might still be a little while. But yeah, we're working on something now. So hang in there. It might take a little while to get, but yeah, we're working on it. I would like something that you can pour thicker. Takes a little while longer to set up, but you don't have to worry about bubbles and things like that. So we're working on it. Chris says, have you tried Epoxy's neon colors? They are similar to LED. Look, no, I have not. I'll definitely go check them out, though. They look pretty cool. Jamie says epoxy shavings are like fish scales. Yeah, super thin, right? DK says, so with those epoxy shavings, could you reuse them in a pour to make them look like fish scales? That's a good question. I've never used them before. I usually just pitch them. Bill says, just did a small river art thing with walnut and epoxy. And empty 45 shell casing suspended in green epoxy. Looks awesome. Hey, Bill, make sure you share that one as well. I would like to see that. Okay, so another question. Did you have to worry about air bubbles coming up out of the empty shells? Like, did you pre-fill them? How did you do that? I think somebody else asked a question earlier. Chris says, DK sounds like a project to try. Yep, and he said DK right there. Yeah, I knew it. DK says thank you, Nate. No problem, man. No problem at all. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you for the awesome conversation and everything this evening. It was hilarious. Had some good times. If you guys want to support this channel, feel free to give a super chat when we're here. Answering questions and things. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy helping you guys out. So if you want to support this channel, you can do a super chat. You can also just watch the videos and share them. I will continue, as long as you keep watching and sharing, I will continue making stuff for you guys. So really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the encouragement. I appreciate all the likes that you guys have been giving me. Puts me up higher in the queue. So appreciate all that as well. Bill says, yes, I did it in multiple pours, so to lessen bubbles. So appreciate that, Bill. So if you guys have any more questions, feel free to either leave them in the comment section or go over to Facebook or Instagram, and you can shoot me some questions over there if I didn't answer what you wanted to answer. And once again, it's one of my favorite times during the week. So I'm glad you guys stuck around this evening. I'm glad you guys came to just to hang out and talk. I really appreciate it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here this evening. And once again, thank you for everything. Thanks for hanging out with us, and I will catch you on the next one. All right.